Hello again, Geology and Planetary Sciences students. Mr. Sespico checking in with you. I wanted to give you a little bit of an enrichment lesson for today. Um, kind of want to give you little snippets, as we're not together in the classroom, but little snippets kind of like I normally would in the classroom. And this time I wanted to share with you a bit of an experience that I had last night that has to do with the stuff that we've been learning about. Okay, and it had to do with some stargazing and bringing up my telescope. Okay, so when you go stargazing, I mean, you kind of have a couple of objects in mind that you want to shoot for that night. You probably want to look at a computer beforehand or some sort of a map to figure out what might be out in that particular time of the year. Okay, sometimes there's daily events that happen, but this time of year, I knew that there was this one particular galaxy that I wanted to find, and so what we do I'll show you a little bit about the telescope later, but for my telescope, it's the Highlands telescope actually. You need to figure out where north is. So north being down here, the North Pole. Okay, the North Pole, not pole, the Polaris, the North Star, is over here, and so you kind of point one of its axes in that direction. Okay. But then, so knowing where that is, you can kind of go to where your target is. Okay. Now this target happens to be kind of near the North Star as it was. So let me just kind of bring out the constellation that it's near. Okay. Obviously, you're familiar with the Big Dipper. Okay. So the galaxy that I was on the lookout for is near the Big Dipper, which is near the Little Dipper, which is where the North Star is. So that's kind of cool. It wasn't so far away. There's a lot of details you have to figure out before you actually start pointing and and gazing itself. All right, so what we had to do is we had to figure out where this galaxy is, and so I'm going to zoom in a little bit to show you how I approached looking for it. Now, some telescopes you can put in coordinates. I'll go ahead and bring you up here to where it is. You start looking at it. Um, there we have it. Okay, the Whirlpool Galaxy. A lot of telescopes you can just kind of punch in coordinates, and the telescope takes you right to that location. Okay, and I'll get the time. I'm going to put the time here so you can watch actually start to float a little bit across the sky. Okay, but you can punch in coordinates and it will bring your telescope right to that spot. But that takes a lot of orienting and setting up in terms of getting a baseline of where your direction is and figuring out exactly where you are viewing from. So there's a lot of stuff that has to go into setup for something like that. If I'm bringing my telescope out, every time and I'm resetting it up all the time, then I don't want to take the time to do that every single time I want to go stargazing. Okay, so some of the telescopes too, that they just have coordinates show up on a computer screen um, of whatever direction of the sky that you're pointing to. It doesn't take you there; it just kind of shows you where you are. All right, and so this galaxy, there's coordinates that I could gather from online and put those coordinates into the telescope and figure out if I'm pointing at the right thing. But I'm doing it sort of the old-fashioned way, and that is just sort of using maps, cheating by using astronomy software maps, but maps nonetheless, and just sort of like hunting in the background for these objects. Okay, so how I found that was was not a simple task. Okay, and it was a lot of trial and error, mostly error. All right, but you have here. Check out the Big Dipper. Okay, the Big Dipper that's here, and the last star in the Big Dipper. Its name is Al Qaeda. Okay, and I took a look at this star over here too. It's called Mizar. It's actually a double star. Okay, so if you zoom in a little bit, people with really, really good eyesight can actually determine the difference between um, those stars just on any given night anyway. All right, but here I am with Al-Qaeda, and Al-Qaeda in the field of view from my telescope. Now we bring up this Starry Night has this really cool option where you can select your telescope type. Mine is an 8-inch. It's a kind of Cassegrain telescope. All right, the 25 millimeter eyepiece. What that means is the focal length of the piece of glass that you insert into the telescope. Okay, and this is the field of view that it gives you. Okay, and so as you hunt through the sky, all right, whatever object falls in that circle, that's what you happen to be gazing at. Okay, so I went from this what I figured out what this one was. Now sometimes it's even hard to know what star you're looking at. Okay, because well, there's lots of stars, so you need to sort of know, relatively speaking, which ones are brighter than others. Okay, so how do I know I'm not looking at this one? How do I know I'm not looking at this one or this one? Okay, I had to be really sure and double check and triple check that I was starting off here, right, with my little star hunt. Okay, so the next brightest star over in what's called, brightness or apparent magnitude is this star over here. And this star is, the name is not important. It's called 24 Canum Venaticorum. All right, so do they have its apparent yeah, its apparent magnitude is 4.65. I could see that pretty easily through the telescope. This one over here, its apparent magnitude was 1.84. So remember that the bigger the number, uh, the dimmer the object. Okay, so the smaller the number, the brighter the object. So this star down here being a 1.84, up here being a 4.65. This is significantly more dim, but it's the brightest thing in this area. So this was kind of my next guidepost. All right, so then I walked on over to what I identified to be this bit of a triangle here. Okay, and so if I zoom out, there's sort of a right triangle that's made from this star, and this star. Okay, so a little bit at a time, I took my telescope view, walked over here, and then walked over here to finally get what would end up being the Whirlpool Galaxy. Okay, so the Whirlpool Galaxy this was the field of view that I had. All right, I had this star down here being, wow, a 7.03 magnitude. That's pretty dim. But I knew I had this one, and then I had the Whirlpool Galaxy up here, but it was really, really dim. Furthermore, there was light pollution. All right, light pollution from street lights out near where I live. Let me turn on local light pollution. All right, so you can see how dim this object was. And and objects that are points of light, they show up a lot brighter because they're not spread out quite so far. This galaxy here, this galaxy is an eighth magnitude brightness, which is really, really dim to begin with. Plus, that brightness is spread out into this much area, which made it for me no better than much of a smudge in the eyepiece, and there's no way I could even photograph that. All right, so I'm spoiled with this image here with the colors and its detail because that's not what I saw. All right, um, yeah, so that's my story. Um, don't want to belabor it too much, and so hopefully I get another chance to take a look tonight if the weather cooperates. But yeah, too, this object is interesting too. There's a lot of argument in terms of how far these objects are away from us. Um, I found three different sources giving me the distance for the Whirlpool Galaxy. So Starry Night, if you could see when it comes up here, it's probably too blurry whenever I convert this to YouTube. But it's saying that it's 37 million light years away. Um, and multiple sites, I found one that said it's 15 million light years away. and yet a third site said it was 23 million light years away. Now, a lot of times that's simply because there's studies and there's research done on various objects in the night sky um, at different times, and so the results from different scientists and these newer studies that they can be conflicting with one another. But that sounds like a lot of variation, right? Okay. All right, I'll leave it at that. That's the Whirlpool Galaxy, though. It's one of the deep sky gems of the spring that hopefully someday you might get a chance to look at too. And it was particularly good for me, viewing wise at least, because it's I got a bunch of trees in my backyard that probably go about this high, based on my view, and so the fact that it was well overhead is a good thing. Take a look. This is going to be right here in the middle of the sky, straight up above. So that's always a good thing too. If it's the higher it is in the sky, the less atmosphere has to go through. Okay, all right. Well, thanks for listening. If you did, and hope you guys are safe, healthy, and well where you are. By all means, keep in touch with me. Let me know if you have any questions. Wishing you clear skies, people. Have a good day.